I own that shirt.
I'm pretty
I
sure
still think
own
we
that
should
shirt.
sell off our mocap suits for charity.
Unwashed.
Jeffrey Pierce.
Do as the lady says.
Ashley Scott. Sorry, Ashley Hart.
Oh, yes.
Ashley Hart. She was married.
Oh, we didn't know the place was occupied. We're just trying to make our way through.
Through to where?
They're all right.
But you know these people?
Know him. He's my
The
goddamn
chemistry was so good between
The two of
you
them.
and Jeffrey.
It was amazing how well, and I mean, Jeffrey's just a few years older than me, but it was interesting playing the older brother to him. And yeah, we felt like brothers immediately. It was crazy.
Oh, well, Jeffrey came, I mean, we almost cast Jeffrey
Yeah.
as Joel.
Be nice to
And then once, like, months later, we needed to cast Tommy. I was like, oh,
Well-
what's Jeffrey Pierce doing? That's pretty good.
Thanks for not blowing my head off.
Would have been embarrassing, considering you're my brother-in-law.
And Ashley Scott, she came really close to being cast as Tess. And
Yeah.
when we needed Maria, I was like, oh,
We
Ashley
got the
Scott.
perfect person.
There were no auditions for these roles.
I love this awkward setup of this is how he meets his sister-in-law. How he meets
Yeah.
Jeffrey's, you know, or Tommy's wife.
Story.
Why don't we bring him inside?
And you just get to see here now how Ellie's starting to become more secretive.
Well, also, it's
And
like
guarded.
the way they're standing and everything, it's like Ellie's kind of alone now. Like now it's like Joel is with Tommy and
There's no one familiar with Ellie.
It's quite the crew you got here.
Yeah, they're good men. This place gives them a second
the
chance.
theme of redemption.
Gives us all a second chance. So why'd you leave Boston?
We went through this so many times,
I've been on quite the adventure.
and each one of them I thought was great in its own little version. It was just kind of like trying to pick the right one.
Everything to do with that.
But this is where you get to see
Well, Joel's putting up a front here. I mean, he's trying to.
he's pitching his little
yeah.
brother. And it's so interesting to see them slip how they're two different men, but they instantly go back into those roles that they were before.
I can show you.
And just by the behavior here, you get hints of what happened in those 20 years.
Right.
How dark things went.
Why bring her here?
Supposed to deliver to the fire.
Like they're playing nice.
Right, they were happy to see each other, but now it's like,
It's
oh,
right
right,
underneath the
you
surface.
haven't changed.
You know where they are. Now, I'm not asking for.
And that's, I mean, that's so true to life. Like, especially with brothers, you go back to that. I push these buttons and you do this.
This isn't for me, Tommy. This is for your damn cause.
My cause is my family.
And I loved, I mean, what Jeffrey was doing posture-wise,
Jesus, boy.
putting Joel on the offensive.
And
And
now he's just like insulting everybody here and insulting his wife.
Tommy, I need this.
Again, just Joel just expects. I tell my little brother to do something, he needs to do it.
Right.
But I ain't taking that
Which
girl
is
off.
totally based on my brother.
This is how you gonna repay me, huh?
Repay you.
For all those goddamn years I took care of us.
Took care. That's what you call it? I got nothing but nightmares from those years.
You survived because of me.
It wasn't worth it.
Tommy here, Tommy and Maria shows that even in this world is horrible, you could find peace in it.
Right.
You could build a community. You don't have to resort to these things that Joel has.
that line was a great thing that Jeffrey improv'd on. Put your hands on me again. It's a good Southern phrase.
You okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Joel! Oh man, they were coming in from every direction. Then Maria was like, "We gotta run."
This is where you
She
see
dove over these tables.
Tommy
This guy blasted
Tommy
her.
realizes for the first time that Joel really cares for this girl. This isn't just a job.
No.
And that's where he has that change and he's like, oh crap,
I need to talk to you.
this is why he's asking me to do this.
Absolutely not. You tell him to go find somebody else.
And again, it's just such a real moment between a married couple. It's like
What's that all about?
honor and you know, doing something for selfishness and everything else that doesn't play in this world anymore. Those are archaic ideals.
Tell you where the lab is?
I don't want you to go out there because you're going to get killed, and we don't owe him anything. Because I'm sure all she knows is the 20-year-old Joel, 20-year-old version of Joel.
Right.
Why would you risk your life for that guy? You hate him, essentially.
One fuck up and then I turn into one of those widows, okay?
And for Ellie, it was important to show that she could just read Joel. She has this bullshit detector that Just by the way he's answering her questions, she understands exactly what he asked Tommy to do.
Maria.
Here we
Love this moment. Here we go.
If anything at all happens to him, it's on you.
The posture and everything. He knows he's in the wrong. He knows he can't ask Tommy to do this.
Yeah.
She's thankful, you know.
Yeah, I know.
I'll take that girl of yours to the Fireflies. You don't have to worry about it.
Aw, he really cares for you.
It's best this way.
There's so much more behind it, though, than that, than just care. It's Tommy showing that he's the bigger man, that he's the better man. He's allowing his brother to be shallow and
Well,
selfish.
I mean, I think he knows what his brother's been through.
Girl of yours. She took
And he
one of
knows
our
why
horses
he
to
can't
throw
go
it
through
off.
that again.
Which way?
Come on.
This is probably my favorite scene.
What a long day this was.
About boys, movies, deciding which.
I honestly think this is one of the best scenes that you wrote, Neil,
It's bizarre.
Get up.
because it says so much about this world
I
and
say no.
especially Ellie, where she's at, and realizing how different and how much of a chasm there is between
Running off like that, putting
this
yourself
world and
at
that.
risk?
I agree.
Goddamn stupid.
Well, I guess we're both disappointed with each other then.
What do you want?
I think I really like about this scene is that
Rid of me the whole time.
they're both kind of, I guess, being selfish in a way, and yet it's coming from a place because they really care about each other. Like they don't understand that they both have been through horrible things, and they each think what they've been through has been worse.
That I'm gonna end up like Sam.
I love that she calls him
can't
out on
get
that.
infected.
What are you so
I
afraid
take
of?
care of
How many
myself.
close calls have we had?
Well, we seem to be doing all right so far.
And now you'll be doing even better with Tommy.
Not her, you know.
What?
And it's like the stakes are high, and it's like, okay, well, then I'm gonna drop this bomb. I'm not her.
Mighty thin ice here.
It's like, how many years has it probably been for Joel since he even like
Don't bring
thought
up
about
that
it,
name.
mentioned it?
You have no idea what loss is.
I think Joel's thought of that name every day, but I don't think he's heard it said.
Has either died or
That
left
shove that you gave that was nowhere in the script.
fucking except for you.
I think that came out of frustration, definitely, because when we had come back and we couldn't find it, and I wasn't necessarily frustrated with you, I was frustrated with us in the scene, and I was like, oh, fuck.
It's so cold of Joel to do this, and I've had people on the team ask me to remove this part, that he's being too cold, and I'm like, no, it's like, because she's being so vulnerable and he's having these feelings, he's trying to shut it down. That's why he's being so cold. It was so important for me to keep that in there.
When he says you're not my daughter, it's almost an insult.
Inside already.
And it's kind of the opposite of what he's feeling.
This scene was such a great opportunity to show even just like all these mini arcs with characters. You know, we don't have a lot of time, and we're not gonna. We can only tell Joel and Ellie's story. We can't go into such detail with Bill and Tommy and Tess and Marlene. But you get this great resolution between these brothers because you get the full arc of it in just a short amount of time.
It's like the way I approached it is the seed has been planted. Like when she says, I'll just be more scared, that Joel just needs time. And in time, he will change his mind because he doesn't want any, deep down, he doesn't want anything that will hurt Ellie or. So over there, the idea is just this little horse riding montages. That change is brewing. And Gustavo's music doesn't hurt.
What's so great about how this plays out is there's really nothing happening but just this passage of time.
That used to be a level that you played through. And just during production cuts, we changed it. So it actually worked out better. It just became this idyllic idea that you never fully reach. You just see it from the outside.
Movies tonight.
Where is this lab of theirs?
It's all the way out, University of Eastern Colorado.
Pointing out this moment that there was probably a time when these two used to watch college football together, you know, and calling out, it's like, hey, go Bighorns, you know, for our college that we picked up. I want one of their T-shirts so bad. University East Colorado, because Colorado is such a big state.
I don't want her coming after me.
Sorry for stealing your horse.
Well, come back to town. Let's discuss it at least.
You know me, my mind's all made up. University, Eastern Colorado. How do I find this lab?
It's in the science building. Looks like a giant mirror. You can't miss it.
Again, the idea of offering Joel a place of refuge, a place of redemption.
Well, and originally we had some, I think there was a line that I threw in there or something. It was like maybe someday or something. It was just too on the nose. And we ended up saying we don't need that.
Yeah.
It just needs to be a...
The look is enough.
Well, and the offer to me is enough.
Mm-hmm. We're about to hear Steve Bloom.
Lovely Steve. Silk-throated Steve Bloom.
Looking for the fireflies. They've all left.
Yeah, no shit.
I'm dead. Or I will be soon. Got me
What a macabre scene, though. I love that Ellie's just kind of
been years that felt like we were
thumbing through things.
fucking thing was a
She's pretty frustrated with not having found the fireflies, not knowing where to go.
Come on. Looking for the others.
Man, I love Steve Bloom's voice.
Mary's Hospital in Salt Lake City.
He makes me want to clear my throat.
Trying to save the world.
It's mean.
Good luck with that.
Do you know where that is?
I know the city.
Is it far?
It ain't.
Again, this is where we really start kind of getting the sense of how Joel and Ellie are just chasing their tail. There's, chasing a phantom.
For me, is what I wanted from this is not to overplay it, not to like have Ellie cry or scream or.
Shit. Joel, here.
There's probably a lot of panic that happened between this moment and the next.
Well, and
You're not seeing.
what a great line, too. You got to tell me what to do. When almost the entire game she said, don't tell me what to do.
And here is where we've been lying to everybody when we've been saying you don't play as Ellie.
That's right.
Yeah.
Asked point blank. Do you play as Ellie?
No.
I know.
In this moment, a lot of this project and the story has been constructed around this moment, which is where the roles flip, where now it's Ellie that has to protect Joel and essentially bring him back to life.
Bye-bye, Bunny.
It's a pretty cool reveal, too. To pan up.
And
And there's Ellie as the hunter.
what we wanted here is also is like, you don't know exactly what happened to Joel, what's the state, how much time has passed.
Poor buddy.
But the way that she's doing that, you can see that she's been doing this for a while.
You'll just startle it.
Remember how tired your arms got holding that bow stretched?
That bow, it was so heavy. And I remember that I was shaking and I was like, hey guys, this is really heavy.
There's David. Nolan North.
Nolan North, ladies and gentlemen.
Ruben Langdon is James.
Ruben Langdon,
What do you want?
ladies and gentlemen. Sorry.
Here's my friend James. From a large
Remember, like, I showed Nolan a part of the game early on, and he's like, oh, you gotta get me a part somewhere in there. I'm like, okay, I got something for you.
I got a role for you. But I will say this, because I was on set just for a brief part of this, but that's when I've always been a fan of Nolan's work, but that's when I was truly awed by him at how he crafted this character. He took what you had and just really brought it to life.
Yeah, I told him the most important part is don't play a bad guy.
Yeah.
This guy's charismatic. We have to believe that people will follow this guy.
And that Ellie could trust him.
Yeah.
Buddy boy can go get it. He comes back with what I need. The deer is all yours. Anyone else shows up,
You put one right between my eyes.
that's right.
It just shows what versatility Nolan really has.
Yeah, that voice,
Something in a syringe.
It's so comforting.
it is very comforting, but it's interesting now that I'm hearing it, knowing what we went through. I
I'll
get
take that rifle.
it's a little unsettling now, hearing it. 'Cause I'm like, ugh.
Back up.
It's a weird gameplay thing, but we went through a version where like, okay, she can only carry one long gun at a time, so we have to put the bow on the ground. They're like, no, it's going to be 2 guns. Okay, well, let's put the bow back on her backpack. No, it's she can carry. And we removed the scope. They used to have a scope on it. We're like, oh, we don't want Ellie to have the scope.
Bring him with us.
I remember being so relieved in this scene when we switched the gun out and I got to put the bow down. I was like, ah.
I love how David complies too. How he just kind of like submits to a little girl.
Well, the thing is like, he knows the stories. He knows what happened in the university, and he's trying to figure this kid out. This whole sequence, he's sizing her up.
How early or how late on in the script did you write David?
Why?
I mean, it was written not that long before we shot it.
Because remember you
It
like
started out
mentioned,
from
like,
a pretty
cannibal
small,
king.
yeah, it was referred as the Cannibal King. We just knew that Ellie was going to run into the worst of mankind and she would persevere and come out on the other side. But then once like Nolan came in and started like putting David together, it was like it became a lot more interesting to make him this really charismatic guy that is just infatuated with Ellie. Like now when things get real, you see who kind of glimpses of who he really is.
Because there is that moment in that other scene where he makes it seem like, okay, you're in control, but she never was.
Yeah.
You've had some practice.
Well, you handled yourself pretty nice back there.
What's cool about David and the conversation I had with Nolan about him is that he's trying to win Ellie over by being honest with her. And here's the part where he's like, I feel like she's ready. I'm going to kind of reveal myself.
No such thing as luck.
And I think like I could still get her to come around.
Now, you see, I believe that everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
The other interesting thing, thematically, that's everything happens for a reason is the same thing that Marlene really believes. That everything happens like it's something she repeats to Joel at the end. But you're kind of seeing how all these characters are just, how much they're willing to go for what they believe in.
When you talked about like being surprised by your own writing, was that a moment like that, or was that something that you had intentionally done to where those characters were going to?
No, I think it's just something you think about, and there's a theme that just kind of sticks around in the project, and then characters end up talking about that stuff because you're thinking about it all the time.
Traveling with a little girl. You see, everything happens for a reason.
Again, another one of those moments where you think Ellie's got control.
Don't get upset. It's not your fault.
Yeah, and then James there.
I'm just a kid.
I love that.
James, lower the gun.
No way, David. I'm not gonna let her go.
It was such a small role, but I really like what Ruben added there. And that the dynamics between James and David, how there's conflict between these two characters, but there's still respect, and he's still listening to David, even though he's questioning his leadership right there.
No, that's not your concern.
Part of me, the way I read that was every time James looked at David, it was like, who the fuck are you right now? What are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, he was putting on a show and he saw it.
Oh, thanks.
To me, it's interesting how David almost treats Ellie like quarry. Like, you know, you're a sport.
Yeah.
Again, Ellie having this kind of bullshit detector, you see her scared here because I think she realizes there's something really wrong with these guys. I don't know what. I just need to get away.
So interesting from watching this, though, I would completely believe David. I'd follow that guy. It's crazy.
It's because you're a cannibal. This little moment, this breath before going to see what's downstairs. And again, for players, it would have been like a while now since they've seen Joel.
Joel?
Once again, Joel's asleep.
I only managed to get a little bit of food.
I love how these roles have switched, too. where now it's, you know, the protected taking care of the protector.
Move your arm.
It used to be open, and then we were like, oh, we should probably stitch that
It
up.
was also on the other side. We had to come back and reshoot it too. Oh, continuity.
Actually, this one I remember we shot this one again because this is going Naughty Dog method. Everybody can like say the 2 cents. Amy Puckett, one of our coordinators, said, "Where's Ellie's backpack?" And we shot it without thinking about Ellie's backpack. And it was like, oh, we should bring it back in and use it as a pillow.
right.
It's like such a cool little touch.
You're gonna make it.
Yeah, those shivering things was pretty cool.
Yeah. The towel thing, right? He was able to
Let's
do
see,
that.
you did that.
Well, yeah,
I mean,
but
he
it's still-
obviously he animated it, but
A great moment of them falling asleep next to each other too. Again, her watching over him. To me, you really get a sense of the oppressiveness of the world with all the introduction with all of these different kinds of enemies. It's like you feel like you're fighting this multi-front battle. It's not just these are the bad guys, and it's so clear.
Away from here. I'll come back for you.
yeah, and just how much Ellie's now willing to put herself on the line to just get them away from Joel.
Wakey, wakey.
It's interesting how much audio has made all of this way creepier. We were watching it without audio.
It's like the foley of what he's cutting up and back and stuff
Yeah.
there. Ugh.
Time to eat.
And that's the first time you actually see what it is that you've heard them refer to it.
No, actually, this is the first time you just see it, and it's again, I really wanted to downplay the whole cannibalism thing. It's just something they have to do.
Super.
He comes to bring her a tray of food.
This was so cool to watch when you guys were doing the scene. It's just like this battle of the wills where he's just trying to like get in her head, and she will not let him. She won't give in.
It's dear.
Yeah, this was one of my favorite scenes to shoot because
Is some human helping on the side?
there's just so much there. I mean, the cannibalism and then him being all like rapey and molesty. Like, I don't know. I'm a fan of the dark stuff, which you know. So when I read it, I was like, yes. Which makes me sound like an awful person, which I am. So
I don't know what that says about me that I wrote this.
I know. I remember that night that I went home, I was just in a funky mood.
We have to take care of our own by any means necessary.
It was like it was a cooler thing to read about it than actually having to go in there. It was really hard to do.
Yeah.
You're gonna chop me up into tiny pieces.
See, again, I see David being this very gracious person. There's
I mean, everything he's saying is kind of true. It's like, you kill to survive, we kill to survive. It's just what you do in this world. But again, Ellie just is feeling there's something else here.
I still don't look at David as a bad guy at this point.
Oh, that's what too is like you were talking to me before we got this whole David thing, and it's like, you want to work with Nolan North? I want to do a scene with Nolan North. I want to and it's like, and I'm like, oh, we cast Nolan North. Like, great. I'm like, but you don't act with him at all.
Tease.
Yeah, I feel super lucky I got to work with him because
He's the king.
he's so fun to work with.
I mean, he really owned it. He threw himself into it, like
Yeah.
darkness and all. And again, talking to him about it, he's like, I don't see him as dark. This is just what he wants. That's it.
I think David believes his own line of bullshit. Or whether it's bullshit or not, I think David believes that he actually is doing the right thing.
I mean, that's the other thing we discussed with Nolan is like there's a religious part to David, even though I never wanted that to come out in the script. But he really kind of believes that he's been sent here and he has this destiny that nothing can really harm him.
What am I supposed to tell the others now?
And you really took that on the chin that day, too.
Man, this whole sequence with David, I was so beat up and bruised.
Actually, I remember you came back the following day with bruises.
I was like, guys, look at me. I had bruises
They're like,
everywhere.
oh, that looks bad, but
We're making a
gonna
game
do some more
now.
yesterday.
Yeah.
I love that you made it the little girl that broke your fucking finger.
Yeah. That was a good call, Neil.
Well, he calls her stupid little girl, so she throws it back in his face. I also like that she gives him her name under her conditions, which is, I'm going to give it to you, but I'm going to insult you.
Right.
I also like the fact that Ellie is still so strong that even though she's in that cage, she's still
kind of in control.
Yeah.
But it's a much stronger, that's a different strength than you'd shown anywhere else in the game before. It's like that winter was a really, really hard winter for you.
Here's another funny scene.
Wow.
Well, and you're wrong. I did get to actually act with Nolan in this. Nolan was a trooper and let me torture him.
Although we did record over his lines with Liam O'Brien.
That's right, the lovely Lob.
The lovely Liam O'Brien. This actually is my favorite scene in the game.
Is it really?
And it, after I saw you guys shoot it, and then when I saw the animation and everything, I was like, I just love this scene.
What is it about it you love so much?
I love that Joel is just quietly violent.
Mm.
And that you pop off the guy's
This is his
kneecap.
job, right? This is what he's good at.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also for me, and we talked about this, it's like Joel going back to this, like, all right, you want this guy? I'll be this guy. We've spent almost the entire game for him to stay away from being that guy, but in this, and it's like, I still know
it's like
how
we're
to
going
fuck you
back
up.
to the moment in the beginning we saw him with Robert and Tess.
Yeah.
This is what he does. This is what he's done in this world.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. He's good at it.
Chokes him out and breaks his neck right there. All for the benefit of that guy.
And it's like, if there's any like notion that someone has hurt Ellie, then I'm gonna make every single one of you guys pay.
Yeah.
That's all right. I believe it. No, wait!
And actually, this is the scene where I think he got beat up the most.
Yeah.
Where you did?
Yo, yeah.
Yeah.
I had bruises over my whole entire body. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, this wasn't stunts, this was you.
Yeah.
I warned you.
The thing that I love about this scene is how much Ellie's using her brains and her physicality, like everything to like get out of this situation.
Right there. Roll up my sleeve. Look at it!
I'll play along.
What'd you say?
Ruben helped so much during this part because choreographing sort of all of the little movements were so particular. And I think everybody sort of knew at this point that I kept hurting people. So Ruben was like, you have to give her the foam knife because she will hit me.
You were beating the shit out of that foam pad. I don't know what you were channeling.
I have a lot of anger.
Stop! Stop!
Fucking touch me!
It's okay. It's me. It's me.
We did very few takes of this. This was like maybe 3 takes.
Yeah.
He tried to...
I just felt like so intense with each one. It was like, yeah, we got it. That's enough.
It's the first time that, Ellie and Joel, like, embraces that physical contact.
Yeah.
And it's such a great choice, I think, for you the dialogue wasn't important.
Yeah, it was just a gesture. So it was like, just let the music take over. And it's the same theme from when, his daughter dies. This was the scene where you got the most emotional. You almost cried in this scene.
Oh, that's right.
We don't have to do this. You know that, right?
First time Joel questions the whole idea of this mission.
But in a different way, though. Before it was why am I wasting my time doing this? And now I'm saying, maybe that's not what we need. Maybe that's not the
Maybe it's
answer.
not worth it.
Well, yeah, it's not worth it.
Everything that I've done.
But I love that this comes off of what you said was one of your favorite moments, which was the
giraffe
moments with the giraffe
sequence.
sequence.
That fleeting moment where Ellie gets to be a kid one last time after the whole David sequence.
And how you even played that visually with, you just kind of catch the very last end of the giraffes moving there. So here we go.
Oh, Ellie's dead.
And I'm sure it was such an intentional thing to call back to the very beginning, to where Joel finds himself in this situation again. And after everything that we've been through, it's like, I won't go through this. And
Hands in the air.
just again, that irrational, maddening, desperate calling for help.
From this point forward, it's like the beginning backwards, where if this is the point Sarah dies, like now you're about to do the Carrie sequence.
Yeah.
Then you like play as Ellie walking, like viewing Joel from the outside, and then you end on the shot with Ellie. So it's like the beginning reversed.
Sorry about that. They didn't know who
Let
you
me
were.
see Marlene again.
And Ellie?
She's all right. They brought her back.
The discussions I had with Merle about this scene is, again, her desperation to find someone that will understand, that will empathize with her decision to kill Ellie to save humanity. And she's hoping she could get that out of Joel because he's the only other person that has cared for Ellie the way she has. And she can't get that out of him.
I just think it was such a great way to bookend, to kind of start and begin
I pretty much lost.
with Marlene. And it's so great that they were able to capture just the strength that she has, even when she was sitting in that chair.
Yeah.
And again, she's completely empathetic, even though she's supposed to be antagonistic.
It's a very similar line to what David says.
Take me to her.
You don't have to worry about her anymore. We'll take care
I
of her.
worry. Just let me see her, please.
You can't. She's being prepped
This is
for
one I've
surgery.
always seen Joel in the most parental role.
Surgery.
The doctors tell me the cordyceps, the growth inside her, has somehow mutated. It's why she's immune. Once they remove it, they'll be able to reverse engineer a vaccine.
Yeah, her performance here was just
But it grows
Stellar.
So flawless.
It does.
I remember talking with the music guys that were putting a lot of Gustavo's music in, and the first few passes were, there was this dark music that was playing here once Marlene reveals that Ellie's gonna die. And I was like, we can't play Marlene as bad because she's not bad.
She's not.
I mean, she's trying to save everybody.
I knew her since she was born.
And if anything, I told them, was like, you can go dark with Joel. Because again, when Ellie's life is on the line, Ellie's in danger, he lets himself slip back into the murderer, the killer,
Right.
however you want to view it.
It's so interesting. I wonder how many players, like, especially in this moment right here, how many sided with Marlene and how many think that Joel was actually the wrong one. It's like, dude, listen to what she's saying.
But at the same time, this is the theme of the game for me right here. Is as a father, you will kill everybody else to save your kid, and that has always been kind of the through line for me. Is Joel's willing to go to the end of the line, meaning sacrifice humanity to save Ellie.
Again,
Robin Atkin Downs.
Guess what's going to happen to him? But this was so cool, too, because, I mean, we've seen all the way through both cinematic and gameplay, you know, Joel is able to take on everybody, but just this moment of resolve that I'm going to wait for my moment. And it almost looks like he's a beaten, defeated person.
Give me an excuse.
And that grimace right there, it's like, no, he's not.
Which way?
Yeah, again, the way you've interpreted Joel is like a man who lets his emotions get the better of him here has to keep them in check. You see how like he wants to destroy this man and everybody here for what they're doing to Ellie, but he has to wait. He has to catch the right moment.
I said keep walking.
Bam.
Where was the operating room?
And again, just such a brutal scene. There's no threat here. It's
just time. Time is the threat.
now I'll let you die.
This scene used to originally be all in the operating room. And Joel wasn't carrying Ellie. He killed Marlene and the doctors in the operating room. And then Peter Field, designer, just kept bugging me. He's like, I feel like we have to play this part. It's, you have to carry Ellie out yourself. It can't just be like hinted at. And we ended up switching the whole structure of this thing. He was right. It was like, it worked way better.
That was another one of those moments where we're like, we're done, we've got it. No, we don't.
As a cinematic, it was. I thought it was perfect. But as a bigger part of the game, it was weaker than letting you play through some of it.
She won't feel anything.
Again, the only hesitation Joel has is that this is what Ellie wants.
And it's such a great decision to show, just cut to this. Give the audience, the player, just one last moment of, well, what did he choose? Just to sit in that decision.
It was also important to show the lie against the reality, because the lie has so much weight here at the end. Throughout the game, Joel has never lied to Ellie. He might have disagreed or he might have dismissed her, but he's never outright lied to her.
What happened?
And for me, this was the moment I decided to lie.
We found the fireflies. Turns out there's a whole lot more like you, Ellie. People that
To me, it hurt to say these things.
ain't done a damn bit of good neither.
Because once Ellie started believing that I actually had something, that I was someone, you're basically telling Ellie, you're not special, you're not important, and everything you've done was for nothing.
I'm taking this home.
Yeah, in the first few versions of the scenes, there was like Ellie had all these questions like,
Sorry.
what happened? Why? Who was there? Why would they let you take me out with the gown still on? And it just was better if she said nothing and she just turned her back to him. And again, just to show how far Joel's willing to go to remove any threat for Ellie.
I mean, we had talked about this before where, she obviously has that bullshit detector.
Let me go.
And I just felt like I knew you were lying. I feel like Ellie knows you're lying.
There we go, the end. So, original ending for this, way back when we put the outline for the story together, is that Ellie believed the lie, and they went off to Tommy's, and it was kind of like this wide tracking shot as you see them kind of getting smaller and smaller, walking off to Tommy's. But as we went through the story, and the characters got more and more developed, it's like it didn't feel honest. It didn't feel like Ellie would buy into all of it.
And she got bit too. We didn't know what to do.
I remember we went over and over and over this scene. Little things changed. But every time I sat and watched you tell this story, I was just raptured by it. It was so easy to listen to you tell this story.
I'm still waiting for my turn.
Ellie.
Her name was Riley, and she was the first to die. And then it was Tess. And then Sam.
None of that is on you.
You don't understand.
I struggled for a long time with surviving. And no matter what, you keep finding something to fight for. Now, I know that's not what you want to hear right now.
Swear
Interesting hearing arguments around the office about how people interpret that last line, that last okay from Ellie. Whether it's, okay, I believe you, or okay, I could put this behind us, or okay, I don't trust you anymore and it's over. That's it.
I hope you guys enjoyed this. We certainly, this is for some of the scenes, it's the first time we had a chance to take a look at it, and it was interesting to kind of, in retrospect, after everything that we've been through, be able to kind of recall what we were thinking on that day, and then 2.5 years later, how we feel about these things.
It's interesting we're ending this on the credits because there's so many people that have. All these people have put this story together, right? I mean, whether it's artists or programmers or without all these people, none of this comes through. It doesn't matter how good the story is or the performance is.
There's hundreds of hands that this goes through.
Yeah. And it gets different kind of interpretations throughout the way until you end up with the final thing that hopefully you guys enjoyed.